English made easy. Hey guys! Bored of those vocab lists? Me too. At 1 Degree North Companion, we're turning wordly wise into an adventure to make learning actually interesting. Let's jump in. Book 3. Lesson 12.
You know, it's amazing how sometimes a single fleeting moment can change the entire world. Today, we're going to dive into the story of how a tragic accident in 19th century France ended up bringing light to millions, all because of one young boy's incredible spirit and vision. So, let's go back in time. We're in the year 1809, in a small town in France. Imagine this sun-drenched leather workshop. You can almost smell the leather and the wood shavings. And it's here that we meet a 3-year-old boy named Louis Braille, just playing among his father's tools. And this is the moment that changed everything. As he's playing, little Louis stumbles, and a sharp tool, an awl, slips and strikes him right in one of his eyes. The accident would injure him, and that harm, that damage, it was sadly just the beginning of his journey. What happened next was just a heartbreaking reality of the time. The wound developed a really severe infection, which is a disease caused by germs. And without the medicine we have today, there was just no way to stop it. The infection tragically spread to his other eye, and by the time he was 5, young Louis was completely blind. Now, this is where the story takes a fascinating turn, and it centers on the word vision. See, in one sense, Louis lost his vision, his eyesight, his ability to see. But in losing that kind of vision, he was about to discover a totally different kind, a dream of what could be, a new vision for the future. The word itself actually comes from the Latin videre, which simply means to see. It's a powerful irony, isn't it? The very act of losing the ability to see the world physically put him on a path to create a whole new way for others to see with their fingertips. Okay, so let's move forward to the next chapter of his life. When he was 10 years old, Louis was sent to Paris to study at the Royal Institute for Blind Youth. In this new world, he was going to have to find a completely new way to create order. His new home, well, it was a small, cold room he had to share with other boys. It was so basic, it felt more like a prison cell. And this challenging, confined space would, believe it or not, become the very place where his great idea was born. But here's the beautiful thing about that word cell. It also has another, much more powerful meaning. A cell is the tiniest building block of all living things, and this perfectly illustrates Louis' situation. From inside his tiny physical cell, he was about to invent a brand new building block for an entire language. In his world of total darkness, Louis had to arrange his entire life. And to arrange something means you have to put things in a very specific order. He needed to know exactly where everything was, from his clothes to his books, just to get through the day. This deep need for order would end up being his greatest strength. Then, one day, a visitor came to the school, a man who would change Louis' life forever. He was a retired army captain named Charles Barbier, and he came to demonstrate a secret military code he had invented. Barbier called it a night writing. It was a system of raised dots that soldiers could use to read messages in the dark, without making a sound. Now, the system was a bit clumsy, but for Louis, it was a total revelation. It managed to arouse this intense curiosity in him. It was like a spark of hope for a new way to read. As he examined the captain's code, Louis immediately saw something crucial. He recognized a pattern, a specific arrangement of shapes. Barbier's system used 12 dots, which was way too big for a single fingertip to read easily. But Louis knew that this underlying pattern was the key. And get this, he was just 12 years old. But he didn't see the flaws, he saw the potential. For the next 3 years, he worked tirelessly, using that same kind of awl from his father's workshop, determined to turn this rough idea into something truly revolutionary. And he did it. This was his genius. He simplified that complex 12-dot pattern into a perfect, elegant 6-dot cell. There's that word again. This new cell was small enough to be felt with just a single touch of a fingertip. It was a complete game changer. From this one simple cell, he could build an entire universe of language. He created a system where different letters and numbers were represented by a series of these cells, a specific, ordered arrangement of dot patterns. His elegant system allowed for 64 different combinations, which was more than enough for the whole alphabet, punctuation, and even music. So Louis had done way more than just improve a code. He had created something with profound influence, the power to truly cause change. His simple system of dots would forever alter the future for blind people everywhere, finally unlocking the world of reading for them. So, you might be wondering, how did this brilliant invention, born from such a personal tragedy, become the global standard we know today? Well, it's a story of patience, perseverance, and eventually acceptance. You know, it wasn't an overnight success. The world can be pretty slow to accept new ideas. But gradually, school by school, and then nation by nation, people began to adopt his system. To adopt an idea is to choose to take it and make it your own. And that's exactly what the word means at its root. It comes from the Latin ad, meaning to, and optere, meaning to choose. The world actively chose Louis Braille's vision, selecting it as the best way forward to unlock literacy for the blind. So, from a terrible accident, a single idea sparked a global revolution. Louis Braille's story really shows us that even from the smallest, darkest cell, a world-changing vision can come to life. And in the very same way, every word we learn is like a spark, igniting the living cells of our minds to build new connections and create new understanding. So as we wrap up, I've got a question for you. From injury to vision to that powerful little cell, which of these words and the incredible story behind it will you choose to adopt into your own thinking today?
Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. I'll see you in the next one.